For all the honeys in the Hyundai, for all my dreams, you know it's alright.
Do you have trouble playing against Tenpai? Are you tired of losing to an OTK Unga Bunga strategy? Are you sick of getting shifted in the draw phase? Do I have a video for you? Today, welcome to the channel everybody. This is Sam from Mammals Gaming, and today I'll be going over how to play against Tenpai. Now, Tenpai is very annoying. It's very prominent in the format. Currently, it has about 19% of tops, which is actually the highest percent of top cuts across all events in the format right now. So it's a very strong deck. Now, why is it so strong? Well, let's talk about it. First, we have the strengths of Tenpai. We have a 40 card deck. So consistent 40 card combo or 1 card combo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 different copies of a card, many of which you would play 3 of, that get you to your OTK strategy. Number 2, lots of room for non-engine. So as you can see here, Droplet, Impulse, Molcharmy, Shifter, very strong cards at the moment. Number 3, can play the strongest hand traps in the game. Like I mentioned, these 3 are, I think, in my opinion, the strongest hand traps in the game currently. They have how Droll used to be, the ability to shut off an entire turn. What also makes it so good? It only goes second. Doesn't have to worry about winning the die roll. So you win the die roll, you go second. You go blind second. You lose a die roll, they go first. You're still going second. Unless you're playing the mirror match, you really don't have to worry about going first or losing the die roll at all. Number 5, board breakers are crazy. This goes into the same point as a lot of room for non-engine, as you can see over here. But board breakers are hell of a card, man. Raigeki sometimes just ends games. And number 6, as you can see, no brain necessary, guys. Strap on that helmet. If you're going to be playing Tenpai, don't even think. You got it. It's all you. Now, that doesn't mean that Tenpai is always the strongest deck. There are weaknesses there are with every deck. Let's go over some of them. 1. Lots of targeted floodgates. So you have cards like Dimension Barrier, Threatening Roar, Skill Drain, that pretty much stop your entire strategy. Number 2. Some hands can be weak to one hand trap, which goes into point number 3. A high non-engine count can lead to some clunky hands. There are a lot of Tenpai players that go Shifter, and then they don't have any starters, so it didn't matter anyway, right? Number 4, absolutely zero grind game. That is a glass cannon, if you can see. I know it doesn't really look like anything cool, but that is a glass cannon right there. Number 5, a really bad Runic Stun matchup. Now, Runic Stun is one of those decks that sees a lot of play, especially at the rogue level. So if you're at a regional, a locals, or even a YCS, you might see a lot of these decks in the early rounds. And then finally, number 6, very easy to counter in the top cut, which converts to a low conversion rate post day 2 of events. Once everybody knows what you're playing, guys, there's no way you're winning. They're just going to make you go first. They're going to spam all the side cards game 2 and 3, and then your whole strategy is ruined. Especially once you make the feature matches, it's almost impossible to win consistently. Real quick, we'll go over some topping lists from the most recent remote YCS. First off, we have the top 16 list from Junjiang Zhao. This list pretty standard: 3 Pydra, 3 Chandra, 2 Genroku, 2 Fadra, 1 Magnamut, 3 Shifter, 3 Charmy, 3 Droll, 1 Sengen Summoning, 3 Sengen Kaiman, 4 of the board breakers here, 2 Desires, which is very ballsy, but I respect it. 2 Book of Eclipse, not quite the best card just yet, but I'm sure it put in some work. 1 Pot of Prosperity, which used to just be an automatic win. 1 Terraforming to go along with the single copy of Sengen Summoning. 3 Imperm and 3 Impulse. For extra deck, we have 1 Transcendent, 2 Bident, 1 Trident, Black Rose, Ruddy Rose, and then 2 of the no wait, is that Moonlight Dragon? To be honest with you guys, I don't really know what that does. I've never had a summon against me. 1 Meteor Burst, 1 Dissipator, Quibelt, Samurai Destroyer, double seals, which is cool. Striker Dragon, and the SP Little Knight. For side deck, we have all these cards, nothing you haven't seen before. Next list we have is the top 32 list. It didn't quite make it as far as Junjiang Zhao's, but it's from James Markowitz. Same thing, 3 Pydra, 3 Chandra, 2 Genroku, 2 Fadra, 1 Magnemite, 3 Shifter, 3 Fulos, 3 Ash Veiler Droll. Now, one thing I might disagree with on this list is the Veiler and the Droll playing 3 and 3 when you have Impulse in the main deck as well as Shifter. This really feels clunky, but you know what? It worked for him, and so I can't really say too much. 1 Summoning, 3 Kaiman, Terraforming, Pot of Prosperity, Double Chalice, which is interesting. We haven't seen that card in a while. Imperm, Impulse. And then pretty much the same exact list, except this one plays Princess and Hida, as well as a Dawn Dragster instead of the Dissipator. 3 Retaliating Sea, which was played a lot, especially for the Snake Eye matchup. It feels like every single side deck is just geared against Snake Eyes, right? And you already have so much hate in the main deck for Snake Eyes, but it's still a good deck, right? It's still the elephant in the room. We'll go over some of the main deck cards here. For some of the main deck monsters, you have Tenpai Dragon Pydra, which searches out a Sangan spell on summon and protects from any battle damage. Or is it destruction? Either or. I don't remember. Fadra summons 1 from grave during damage step or on summon, and it protects from destruction by battle. Genroku, if it's added to hand, it's a Poplar. It summons itself and then quick effect tributes to tag out for another level 4 or lower main deck monster. Chandra specials itself on board. Special itself from hand, rather, if another fire dragon is on board, and then during the damage step, it can special summon out any other level 4 or lower fire dragon. And this is a tuner, so if you saw in the last one, Genroku is also a tuner. There are 2 tuners in this strategy, Chandra being one of them and Genroku being the other one. Oh, another thing, Genroku can level modulate, sometimes comes up. Doradora searches a level 4 lower fire dragon on summon and has no effect on the main phase. It has no meaning. Another thing to take note of, Doradora is a normal summon effect, so if it's specialed, it does nothing. Bestial Magnemite specials itself out by banishing a dark or a light in either graveyard, which is a quick effect if you control it or a monster, and then searches any dragon at the end phase from deck or graveyard. For main deck spells and traps, we have Sangan Summoning, which is a field spell, level 4 or lower fire dragon, once per turn added to hand, protects all fire dragons from any effects in the main phase, and doubles the attack of 1 monster when it's destroyed. Sangan Kaiman has 2 effects, which is add a level 4 or lower fire dragon from deck to hand, or special one from from hand to field. It can activate both if it's in the battle phase, but can only activate 1 otherwise. It's a quick play spell. And Senken Kaiho, this is more of a side deck card, and it's not even that favorable, but it basically just skips the main phase if you control a fire dragon and your opponent has the same amount or more monsters on the field, and then it can banish itself from grave if 3 or more attacks have been declared, and draw a card. And then special from hand. It's not that good. Hand traps. Tenpai plays a lot of really strong hand traps. First we have the Mulcharmies, so we have both Perulia and Fulos, which draw you a card if your opponent specials, oh no, not even special. For Perulia, just summons from hand, so including normal summons, and then Fulos, which special summon draws 1 every time your opponent special summons from deck or extra deck. Now, these are basically maxi. These cards have been ruining the format, so people think. They're just really strong. It makes your opponent play into really bad boards, which Tenpai thrives off of. Next, we have Dimension Shifter, which is Macro Cosmo. Everything gets banned this card. Third, we have Dominus Impulse, which is Solemn Warning from the hand or field. It can be used from hand if your opponent controls a card, and then locks you out of Earth, Wind, and Light monster effects, which does lock you out of seals, so people don't let Tenpai players use seals effect after they use Impulse. Then we have the more standard ones. We have Ash Blossom, you know what this card does. Infinite Impermanence, you know what this card does. And Droll and Lockbird, you know what this card does. No more adding. Then Tenpai will play a lot of board breakers. Remember we talked about those? We have the Monster Bye-Byes, which is Darkhold and Raigeki. Then we have the Back Row Bye-Byes, which is the Lightning Storm and the Harpies. And we have Forbidden Droplet or any other imperm-like effects where it just says no to any monster effects. Forbidden Droplet is especially good because it halves the attack of the monsters that it negates, can be activated in the damage step. Now, I'm missing a lot of cards that Tenpai players tech in or might play. Don't worry too much. They're all pretty much the same thing. Stop your opponent and then break their board and then OTK. Now for the extra deck. Main one that they play two of is Bident Dragon. Specials one from Graveyard on Synchro Summon, and then specials itself from Graveyard and pops a spell and trap once per duel if 3 or more attacks have been declared as a quick effect. And then Transcendent Dragon, which states your opponent cannot activate effects in the battle phase, changes all of your opponent's monsters to attack position on Synchro Summon. Then same Graveyard effect, but this can pop anything. Trident Dragon, which is kind of the big boss OTK finisher, pops up to 2 cards on the user's own field on summon and then gains that many attacks per turn. So you'll pop your Sangan Summoning and then another card and then boost it by 3k, and then it punches 3 times for a total of 18,000 by itself, which is more than enough for game. For other utility synchro monsters, we have Black Rose or any of the other roses. Black Rose in particular just destroys everything on field. It's a big atom bomb. We have Samurai Destroyer, which just negates Yubel, or in reality, it just negates effect of a monster that it attacks. So basically, you only summon it for Yubel. Then you have Quibelt, which pops 1 on summon. I don't think any Tenpai player actually summons this card. It might just be for Floodgate out, but you're kind of losing if you got Floodgate already, so I don't know what this card is for. Ruddy Rose, which is one of the other Rose Dragons, banishes all cards from both graveyards. So if you can't end the turn, you summon Ruddy Rose, banish all of their follow-up, and then pass on a seal. Negates, you have Dissipator and Dawn Dragster, which is either a monster negate or a spell trap negate. Dissipator especially good with a shifter, so you always have some fodder. Seals, which tributes a card on your field, bounces a face-up card from field to hand, and then if it's tributed, can summon any dragon from the deck. Attack and defense becomes 0/0, but it does not matter. For links, you have Princess, Hida, and Doolittle. These are all kind of self-explanatory. If you don't know what these cards do at this point, you have bigger problems than just Tenpai. Doolittle in particular is a little interesting though. It just really is for helping OTK under Dimension Barrier. Oops. Let me bring this up. There you go. Look at that. Now you can see. It helps OTK under Dimension Barrier. Not everyone plays this. I don't think anyone really plays it at all anymore. It's just a cute little card that some people play. SP Little Knight and Striker Dragon should be on here, but Striker and SP just coincide with each other. If they want something banished and they can't play otherwise, they'll just summon a Striker off of one of the dragons and then summon another dragon and summon the SP. But then they can't attack directly, so I don't know how you expect to win if you do that. Now, what is the Tenpai winning strategy? Let's talk about that for a second. Tenpai aims to OTK the opponent via multiple battle phase effects. The main way they do that is by quick synchro summoning using the main deck monsters effects. So Fadra, Pydra, Chandra, they all quick sync in the battle phase. They summon each other out via each other's effects plus Sangan Kaimin. So Chandra will summon out 1 from deck. Fadra will summon 1 out from grave. Kaimin summons 1 out from hand after searching 1. And also Bident Dragon summons 1 from grave as well. And then they have protection in the main phase if they have Sangan Summoning on board. So if there's just a card on there that says no cards can be activated, nothing matters, they're free to just go into the battle phase after they set up a little bit. So how do you counter this? Well, it's actually quite simple. Stop these cards for the most part, right? And this isn't all encompassing. There are some things you have to see, but the main things you should be trying to do: 1, pop the Sangan Summoning if it ever shows up on field. So if you have an SP Little Knight, IP into SP play, get rid of the Sangan Summoning and hope they don't have follow-up. Now, if they get a Tenpai Dragon Chandra on board, negate it with either a Veiler or a Imperm. Let's say if you have a Veiler, if they go end the main phase, you just go Imperm and hope they don't have the Kaimin in hand. And if it's in the battle, then you go on declaration of attack before they reach the damage step, you Imperm the Chandra so that it doesn't get the summon out from deck. Now, you want to Ash Blossom or Impulse the Sangan Kaimin in the battle phase. because this card is just one. This card, if it resolves, you just lost the game. You have no hope. Now, let's go a little bit more in depth with it. So as I said before, if anything attacks, imprint the Chandra on declaration so that they can't do anything. But however, if they have 2 monsters on board, they can just synchro summon it right back out. If they go into damage step, it's too late unless you have a counter trap. So if you're playing a trap heavy deck, which I don't know why you would, or if you're siding the Solemns, sure, you can do a Solemn Strike in the damage step on the Chandra effect. That's pretty good. And then they will most likely save the Sengen Kaiman for last, like I said. So make sure you always have something in your hand or field to deal with that. Like I said before, Ash Blossom and Dominus Impulse are great ways to deal with that. Do not let them get 2 monsters on board, including a tuner. And this includes Genroku. They go normal summon, Hydra adds Sengen summoning, add Genroku. Then they go Genroku effect. Holy, it's still in hand. You have to Dominus Impulse that. Fuck the Kaiman. If they have the Sengen summoning on board, you cannot wait until it's off the field. So Dominus Impulse, you get Roku effect, or if you can Ash Blossom the on-field effect. And if you have a Princess or another quick effect pop, you should just get rid of their second monster that's summoned, unless it's again Roku. And SP Little Knight the Chandra away if you can, or find another way to get rid of it. And then also use chainable trap cards. I know floodgates, continuous trap floodgates like Skill Drain, Anti-Spell Fragrance are pretty good, but they can be outed by a Harpies, a Cosmic, or a Lightning Storm. So I like to use personally normal traps that can be chained and do blanket floodgate effects, such as Dimension Barrier, Waboku, T-Roar, or sometimes the Black Goat Laughs and Magic Deflector if you absolutely have nothing else. And keep your Dominus Impulse in hand. You do not want to lose it via a board breaker. The most important thing you should do when you're playing against Tenpai, do not tilt. If you tilt, you will make bad decisions. Tenpai players need you to make bad decisions because their deck runs on autopilot. So if you make a bad decision, their job gets so much easier. So keep a cool head, even if you get shifted or whatever, keep a cool head, analyze the game state, and do not tilt. It's okay to lose game 1. You can side heavily for the matchup and try to hope to win the next 2 and play well. But oh my gosh, the moment you tilt and make a singular mistake, you will get punished, which is unfair. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is an easy matchup. This is actually an impossibly hard matchup, but it is entirely dependent on how you side and how level-headed you can be. If you tilt and you get shifted in the draw phase and go, oh, I lose, and just fucking give up, you will lose the game. It's just what it is. You have no chance if you don't try. Now, what if they go first? What do you mean if they go first? It's an OTK deck. Sometimes Tenpai players like to throw a little curveball at you. Oh, they throw a little nice cute little curveball. They go, you know what, after sighting, I'll go first. Big brain, strap on that helmet real tight. Their going first strategy is not very strong. It's mostly just seals and a floodgate, something like Rivalry of Warlords, or a Kaiho with a Genroku pass. It's not really that good. I would still siding going first cards, because if you can't OTK, at the very least put down as many interruptions as you can and just try to go for the next turn. They need that next turn to go through. It's still a 1-turn kill. They're just setting up for the next one and hoping you don't side in going first cards. Regardless of going first or second, siding Cosmic Cyclones for the floodgates. They don't play too many, unless you're playing a synchro deck and they side in Dimension Barrier against you. They're playing Rivalry and stuff. If they Kaiho you, it may pose a problem, but just try to get it to the point where you get rid of the back row. So you bait it with a Nightmare Phoenix or an SP Little Knight. And then if they have to chain it, it'll most likely put you in a decent position where you only lose 1 monster. The worst thing that happens is they summon a Transcendent Dragon and you have to attack, and you can attack yourself for game. So don't go all out in the main phase. Bait that Kaiho first, and then just go to main phase 2, set up some interruptions and prevent the OTK. Most likely they already used a little bit of resources. Instead of searching the Sengen summoning, they searched a Kaiho, which that's another reason why they don't play that card anymore, because you would much rather have the Sengen summoning or the Sengen Kaiman. What happens if you get hand trapped? Oh no, I got draw phase shifted. I got draw phase Mulcharmied. If they activate these two cards on you, do not fret, my boy. There are things you can do to mitigate the damage. In the case of Mulcharmies, if you can make a Fucho / Baguska and pass, hope to draw another turn with minimal draws, try to do that. Do not go overkill with resources. They will draw into all their board breakers and run you dry. Now this is different. If you don't have Fucho and Baguska, if you don't have minimal, if your deck doesn't have access to a nice strong interruption with minimal summons, by all means, take the challenge. I don't think there's really anything else you can do because they most likely have the perfect hand. They always do. Try to sit back, play a lot of hand traps. If you're playing a deck that can't run too many hand traps, I think it's time you have to play a different deck, man. It's 2024. It's almost 2025. You can't be playing a shit deck. In the case of Shifter, same thing. Make the best board you possibly can. You don't have to worry too much about letting them draw into resources, so try to put up the absolute strongest board you possibly can. For games 2 and 3, if you know they're playing Shifter against you, side out any irrelevant hand traps such as Ogre, Droll, Veiler, and Crow, and side in your chainable traps, like I said. So make it as difficult as you can. Even a bunch of imperms, a bunch of cosmics, that should help you. Just hope you don't draw dead is all. So to recap, what did we learn today? Rule number 1, side in chainable traps such as D-Barrier, Threatening Roar, the Black Goat Laughs. I know I keep saying that card, nobody plays it. I don't even play it, but it is very cute. Hit their key pieces, rule number 2, Sangan Summoning, Chandra, Kaiman. If any of these resolve, you most likely lost. And the most important, rule number 3, do not tilt. Keep a level head and be strong. You're better than this. But best of luck, boys. I hope to see you all at YCS Anaheim. That's where I'll be next. Here, let me just enlarge this for you. I hope to see you at YCS Anaheim. I'll be there along with the rest of the team or some of the other members in the team. And thank you for watching. Hope this helps you even in the slightest. Best of luck. And ban shit. Peace.
Left on red said none of that shit would get easier. Best friend flirting with